Now, let's talk about mushrooms. And you're going to hear me say the word psilocybin a lot during this segment. That's the hallucinogenic substance found in certain mushrooms that make them magic, or put simply, the thing that causes you to potentially see or hear things that aren't actually there. Some people call it going on a trip. Right now, you cannot legally buy magic mushrooms anywhere in the U.S. They're considered a Schedule I substance by the FDA. That means the federal government categorizes it as having a high potential for abuse. But when it comes to psilocybin in Oregon, well, you could call us trailblazers or guinea pigs, or maybe both. The Beaver State has the nation's first regulatory framework for legal psilocybin services, and that's thanks to Measure 109. That was passed by voters back in 2020 with 55% of the vote. And before we get too far into all this, 2 months ago, voters in 25 of Oregon's 36 counties said no thank you. They voted to ban these legal psilocybin services, and several cities have also followed suit. But right here in Multnomah County, it has the green light, at least so far. Here are the possible benefits of psilocybin, according to the Oregon Health Authority. They say research has suggested the compound may help with depression, anxiety, trauma, and addiction. They go on to say studies have found that magic mushrooms can increase spiritual well-being. And this week, the state started accepting applications for psilocybin licenses. Now, if you're interested in getting licensed to work with psilocybin, you can head to oregon.gov/psilocybin, that's with a PSI, to learn more and apply. It's also there on the bottom of your screen, so you can see the spelling. Now, listen, you cannot just apply for the license in the hopes that you can grow magic mushrooms at home and then use them when you want to. That's not the way this is all going to work. These licenses are for manufacturers, labs, service centers, and facilitators. There are very strict rules in place that determine where and when you can legally buy and consume psilocybin, and those rules were finalized by the Oregon Health Authority last week. Here's a look at how that works, and we'll start from the ground up. Like literally from the ground up. Psilocybin mushrooms will be grown and processed by a licensed manufacturer, and then they'll be tracked as they leave the facility. Then the mushrooms will be tested in a licensed facility to double check the potency and dosage. Those results also will be entered into a tracking system, and then the mushrooms will be sold or transferred to a licensed service center. The transferred part would happen if the same company owned the lab and the service center. Now, you probably noticed that I mentioned the word licensed quite a bit. That's the process that just started this week. Manufacturers, labs, service centers, and facilitators can now apply for the required license from the state, which they need to legally get into this business. Once all of that's taken care of, you, the consumer, can then go to the service center and pay to eat the magic mushrooms. Now, the only requirement is, just like buying alcohol, you have to be at least 21 years old in Oregon. And it's important to note that you do not need a prescription or a medical referral. You can just show up. What happens inside the service center? Well, first you're going to meet a licensed facilitator. After that, the preparation session, you would move to the administration session, which is when you eat the magic mushrooms, and then you talk with the facilitator as you begin to feel the effects. Now, under state rules, the facilitator has to stay with you the entire time. The sessions last from 1 to 6 hours, depending on how much you take. By the way, you cannot buy the mushrooms and take them home. You only eat them at one of these facilities under the supervision of a facilitator. After the effects of the mushrooms wear off, you either are free to leave, or if you want, you can take part in an optional integration session to talk about more support or other resources that could help you. And by the way, these facilitators at the service centers, well, they're required to be trained and licensed by the state as well. So, in theory, they should know what they're doing. Now, your next question may be, okay, when are these places going to open? That's a good question. Still up in the air, actually. The Oregon Psilocybin Services offices expect some service centers to open their doors to clients this year. But they also note it's going to take some time for all the different licenses to be approved and distributed, because nothing can legally begin until each entity along the way has its license from the state. So remember, manufacturer, lab, service center, facilitator, that's a lot of licenses. Next question, what's it going to cost? Well, it's kind of up to the market, actually. The state simply says licenses will be determined, well, licensees will determine the cost of their services. So that means each business can decide what they're going to charge you. And since this is the first regulatory framework for psilocybin anywhere in the U.S., they don't really have nearby markets to look at or even compete with. So I guess they could charge you whatever they want. Now, we'd love to hear what you think about all this. Do you think that you will try psilocybin in that controlled environment once everything's up and running? Have you already experimented on the black market? Or is this something you would never plan on touching at all? Send us an email, will you, to thestory@kgw.com or call and leave a voicemail, 503-226-5090.